Howdy, folks. I went to the comic shop today because I'm all excited that Legion of Superheroes is back. That's one of my favorites. I loved Legion growing up. So one of the first series I ever kind of got. I always, all my life, got comics. You'd go to the drugstore, you'd buy all the comics. Superman, a Batman, Archie, Twilight Zone, if you could get it, whatever. And Legion, it wasn't until years later, I was a young teen. I'm a Superman fan, always been a Superman fan, and was at a grocery store and I saw the spinner rack. I was looking through the books on it just to see what the heck was there. And at this point, I'm in high school. I don't buy a lot of comics. It wasn't cool. But I still love Superman. And I would buy Superman stuff, figures, things, whatever. There weren't a lot back then. The Donner movie hadn't come out, so there was really nothing. He wasn't that big at that time. It was one of those periods where he was in a slump. I saw in a comic book there was a Superman club that you could sign up for. I thought, oh, that'll be fun getting the certificate and the card and all that. That'll be part of my Superman collection. So I bought the book, and it was a Legion of Superheroes book, and it was the origin of Wildstar. I thought, this is so cool. And I went and found more Legion books on racks and places, and eventually there were comic shops, but they weren't close to me. I'd ride my bike. It would take me like 2 hours to ride my bike to the closest comic book shop. But I was finding Legion books and putting together runs where I could actually read stories rather than just reading issues. And so I've been a big Legion fan. Read so much of it from the early 50s, or not early 50s, from the early stuff in the 50s. They were in the late 50s. Till now. I've always kind of had a spot. And they've really had some troubles. I mean, in the 70s and 80s, I thought it was a great book. And in the 90s, it kind of went down. They did a stupid thing. If you know anything about the Legion, they're a group of superheroes 1,000 years from now. And Superboy is in the Legion. So the year, they always insisted, in the 70s, 80s books, that it was 2982 or whatever. Now it's like 31-ish. It's the 31st or 32nd century. They're not making it year by year, exactly 1,000 years. But it's 1,000 years from now. And I guess somehow in the 90s, I was Keith Giffen, who was good, but he took over. He did some weird stuff. One of the guys thought it would be really cool to dump the costumes and dump the code names. So you had to know their real names. Now, I'm a huge Legion fan, but they have weird names. Like, even I have troubles. That Saturn girl looking at Superboy, and her name is Irma something. And I just read this, and they say it in it. Reap Daggle, I would know, Chameleon Boy. But you can't get rid of the costumes and the code names and have a team of 100 people. You can't do that. Made the book unreadable, and they kept trying to bring it back here and there. Even in the New 52, it was just not good. So I heard that Legion was back. And I guess there was a 2-issue Superboy our Legion book or Superboy book called A Millennium, which is a clue to what I think about this. I went and back ordered those books. I want to read them. It's a lead into this that you don't need. But this was old Legion to me. It's fun. They've got some of the silly characters back. Most of them you only see in the backgrounds. But they're there. Here's one of the big background scenes that I really Thought was cool with all the different characters in it. And you've got Triplicate Girl, and there's Dawnstar. Just if you're a Legion person, you know what's going on there. There's Timberwolf. I'm very happy to see that they brought the Legion back. And since I bought a Legion book, they also gave me it's upside down, a Legion flight ring. It's just plastic. It's cute. But it's cool. It actually fits. So that means I can fly now. Anyways, I was always a Legion fan. To have the Legion brought back in a way I like. My God, I haven't seen a good Legion book in 30 years. So I'm quite happy to see this. Now, since I was there, they just finished House of X Powers of 10, which is an X-Men series from Marvel. It was series where they are revamping the X-Men. I am behind on my monthly stuff. I actually stopped buying monthly because I got behind and there was no reason to keep buying stuff. It's just going to sit there and be unread for a while. So I'll just pick up a book here. This, I'm going to find out if I can get one book on their pull list. I'll get Legion. I also picked up New Mutants. I picked up the alternate cover because it had Magic. I like that Magic cover. I believe it's by Art Germ. He's a very good artist. And I liked it because some of my favorite, I like the old New Mutant stuff when they came out. I like the characters, and those characters are in this book, so I got it. Danny, the whatever her code name is, the Native American character is I like her a lot, and I like I just like the early Sunspot. Cannonball's not in it, unfortunately. Doug is in it, who's Cypher. One of the coolest superpowers you could think of. I mean, whoever thought of this superpower and how it can be used, he has the mutant ability to understand any language. So you think, man, okay, so he hears French, he understands French. Well, it gets better when you think about what that can mean. At one point, he goes up to a computer and he can operate it. No one's ever operated this computer before. But he's like, oh, it's a language. I can understand it. He's talking to someone who's not talking to him, and he knows what they're saying. He can tell if they're lying because body language is a language. I mean, just there's little touches that make this such a great power. Such a subtle, cool power. And they don't use them in this book. And unfortunately, if you know your Marvel stuff, they're on the Corsair, the Starjammers ship with Corsair. I don't know. We're in the middle of a story. Unfortunately, we pick up number 1 in the middle of a story. We pick up number 1 of the Legion. And what we know is some Legionnaires went back in time, grabbed Superboy, and brought him to the future. Big deal. It's 2 issues that'll tell me how that happened. I don't need it. I'm going to read it, but I want to read it. But you don't need it. It starts right at the beginning. This is kind of I might have to get, if I want to read all this stuff. And unfortunately, I picked up a couple, well, not unfortunately, I picked up a couple things that looked interesting. Marauders, which is all part of this new X-Men launch. And they gave me a pack of cards. Ooh, exciting cards. This is some new language that I don't know what that is. These are the new series coming out. Excalibur number 1. I might go pick up all these if these 2 books are readable, just to read the whole series of number 1s and see if I kind of like the direction, if I like any of them. This one's got Jubilee, so that would be a pickup. It's not out yet. This one I was going to get because it's X-23. It's called Fallen Angels. It's not out yet. This one I skipped over the X-Men one. I'll probably go get that this week just to have them all. I did get Marauders, and tell you why in a minute. New Mutants is the one I just told you about, which I can't say I didn't like it. I'll probably get number 2. I may drop the book real fast. But that's, you can see if you knew the old New Mutants, you see that team is back. And I picked up X-Force because I always liked that Wetworks type team. I don't know if it's still a Wetworks team, so we'll see. I'll just give it a read and see. I don't know. But Marauders I picked up because of one scene I heard about, and I just think this will be it. Just sounded really cool. Kitty Pryde, I don't know if you know, Kitty Pryde has an ability to phase, which means she can become intangible and things will pass through her. Or she can pass through things. And at one point, it's kind of, from what I understand, I haven't read this book yet. From what I understand, it's a Waco type situation where gunmen are firing on a group of civilians. And Kitty Pryde, like a badass, just starts walking at the people firing the guns. And the thing is, she's phased. So she can walk at them and all the bullets are going through her. And she gets up to this guy and she, makes her hands tangible and grabs the gun from him. And she turns at him and goes, "These are all innocent civilians, so I assume you're shooting rubber bullets, right?" And she turns the gun at his knee and goes, "Right," and pulls the trigger, blows his knee off. They were not rubber bullets. Which pisses her off. And she does other things. Not killing anybody, from what I heard, but she phases the gun through a guy's leg. I just thought that scene was enough for me to buy the book. I'll see if it's any good. But, and that's it. And then there's the X-Force book. So we'll see if those are good. I was thrilled with the Legion. I'm so happy that the Legion is back. And the other stuff, we'll see. And maybe I'll pick something else up. I don't know. But I did. I picked up one other thing. I picked up Bone. I really want to read this. I've never read Bone in my life. And I know it's a classic. And I know I need to read it. So I'm looking forward to reading that one and doing an actual graphic novel review. So other than that was it. It was a lot of fun to go back to a comic shop, getting a new book that I was just walking in, getting excited about some of the other stuff on the shelf. I mean, I kind of wanted to grab the new Spider-Man, and I'm like, I can't buy it. I'm not going to, I've still got stuff piled up here that I've not gotten to. I had to stop coming to shops because I bought too much. I couldn't do it. But Legion, yeah, I'm going back in on Legion. All right, folks, thanks. That was a comic book story. Go read a comic.